Hi, it's Lisa Cuneo, and welcome to my scrapbook table. This video is my card making video for the month of April. I'm using this Stampin' Up! Die set. It goes with the stamp set, but I didn't use the stamps, I just used the dies. And I wanted to make my own green paper in various shades of green, so I pulled out a bunch of Distress Oxides in different greens. I know I used Twisted Citron and Peeled Paint. I don't know if the other one is Mowed Lawn, or actually I think it is Mowed Lawn, and I might have added some Rustic Wilderness also. And I used a spray that I had made myself from water and alcohol and some re-inkers. I made that spray when I was taking a mixed media class from MK Gunn and Janet Fritz. I didn't worry about putting this ink on nicely because I knew I was die cutting it into that treetop. And there's lots of variations in the tree and holes in that, so I knew that splotchiness wasn't going to matter. I just wanted a variety of greens covering this paper, and the paper I'm using is watercolor paper. It's Strathmore cold press, I believe. I knew this was going to be taking a lot of liquid, so I decided to use my little bit better quality paper for it. And now I am spritzing this on, and since these are distress inks and oxides, they react with liquids, so they start moving around a little bit, blending nicely. I let those dry, and I sped it up, the drying up a little with my heat tool. And then I used to use saran wrap with my card making all the time and had completely forgotten about it until I was watching a video from my friend Mel and her scrapbooking videos, and she was using this, and I'm like, hey, I need to get my plastic wrap out again. And actually I had to buy some because I was out. So I just, it lets you add ink in a little bit more specific way, intentional way. And I just used all my different greens and put some down, creating a bit more variation in what is on this green paper. And what I end up doing then is cutting this into strips and using that treetop die to cut out a whole bunch of treetops. I think I did 12 or 13 out of this one sheet of paper. So that was a lot. I was happy with that. I was making these cards for our card ministry at church, so I needed a bunch of the same one. And there it is. I'm really happy with this. I know it looks like a mess, but once the die cuts, or once the paper is cut into those treetop dies, it looks really nice, and I was very happy with how it turned out. And it was fun to play with ink and sprays again. I don't do that very often, especially without like a specific plan of something I want to do. All I knew at this point was that I wanted some green paper, and it looks bluer on screen than it is in real life. And now I want to do the same thing with some brown. So this is a brown from Stampin' Up. I'm not sure which one. And I didn't have a spray, but I went ahead and used some different inks. I know I used Vintage Photo and another brown from, I can't read it, sorry. And then I used that mahogany also, but I ended up not liking that much, so, and it doesn't show through much at the end. I then got a Stampin' Up! Ink out, probably soft suede, I think. And I just inked, then I did some water spritzing and inked some more. And when you look at the card, you might think, oh, you can't tell that she did all of that. But really, if you compare a tree trunk from this paper to a tree trunk flipped over the back and see the back of it that wasn't distressed and inked and sprayed and all of that, there really is a difference. And last, I take this saran wrap, plastic wrap, and I used it with a a dark gray, to create some more variation. And here's the fun part. I love peeling off the tape and seeing the difference between what was under the tape and what you sprayed. And from this piece, I cut out all my tree trunks. I saved you from watching all of that. Here's one of the last ones. And I just used this little, I don't know what it is, pokey brush tool. I don't know. I bought it from Temu a long time ago. And this is really the first I have used it. It came with a little foam pad, but that didn't seem to do any good, so I just put it over my little tabletop trash can, and it worked pretty good at getting out the pieces. I did have to use my fine tip scissors to get a few little pieces, but most of it came out just fine. And here is the tree trunk. I really like this die set because you can make winter trees, spring, fall, and summer. It's just very versatile. It comes in handy for making masculine cards, which I find harder to come up with. It's always easy for me to come up with a flowery, more feminine card, but masculine cards are harder. So there's what they're going to look like. And I'm going to keep these scraps because I can cut smaller leaves out of those for a layout or some other cards. So those are going in my bin where I keep scraps of various colors. I just have this piece of patterned paper. It's a very subtle yellow pattern, and that's going to be on the card base. Glue on the tree trunk. Look at those details in that tree trunk. Isn't it pretty? There we go. I should have, at this point, gotten up, went and got a big block, acrylic block, to put over that to hold it down and dry, but I didn't. So I ended up messing with them the whole time, and halfway through I'm like, this is silly. Anyway. I decided I needed plenty of glue on this since it's not on a flat surface, it's going on that raised up surface. And there we go. And for the sentiment, I did two different sentiments. I did "You're on my mind" and "I thought of you today." So I must be, there's my stamp, there's my ink. And I'm just seeing how this wood block, does it stamp straight? And it does pretty much. So it's easy to get it on there pretty well. And there we go. The cards I make for Card Ministry, I try to do some pretty simple things because I do make them in bulk. I've made about 70 cards for that in the last week. They are single layer for the most part. I don't usually do die cutting, but I wanted to play with this tree die, and I just decided to go ahead and make these 12 a little more involved than most of my usual ones for this. The background paper is just from a paper pad that I bought for, I don't know, $4 or $5 at a yard sale last summer. And it has a lot of good neutral-ish patterns, but they're subtle patterns so that I can use them. They almost read as a solid, which I like for card making. These are just about done. I will have a still shot again at the end. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. And here's the other sentiment that I'm using. I thought of you today. And there we go. Here's the still shots. Thanks for joining me. Bye.